Hello again, folks. It's Ed Carter with Trader Vision. I just wanted to touch base with you today on some improvements we're making to GoalView, and that will be released very soon on 8/11, if not already by the time you get this. So let's talk about what we're going to cover today. Today we'll go over the new sections of GoalView, which include the Goal section, the Plan section, the difference between the Plan and Goal section, and then the graph. We'll then work through a couple of examples, one of setting goals, one of reviewing the progress of your current goals, and finally on comparing goals and plans, various versions. So with that said, let's get started. Okay, notice this is the new goal view, and you'll notice that my colors may be different from yours in terms of the background color. That's because I have chosen this color on Setup Application. In GoalView now, we have basically four main sections. We have the dark green section at the top, which is My Goal. We have the orange section, which comes in two tones, and I'll explain that later, which is my plan to reach that goal. If you don't like the use of the word plan so often, think of it as your blueprint or your strategy to reach this goal. Then in this tan section here, we have the difference between your plan and your goal, or your blueprint and your goal, if you prefer. And finally, at the bottom of the page, we then have the graph, which represents the various pieces of the plan and goal that we will cover. You'll notice that they are color-coded, and we'll get further into this later. Let's start by creating a new goal. You first select the account for which you are interested in setting a goal, and you click the down arrow under the list of goals and select to add a new goal. I'm just going to leave it at today's date, but you could use the control to pick a date from the calendar just like any other date within Trader Vision. So let's use this date, click OK, and it blanks out the plan and sets the goal back to the current balance as of that date. In this case, you'll notice that the current balance is $123,810.28 in this test account. Let's set an initial goal of, I'll just arbitrarily pick $160,000. And I'm going to make that an annual goal, so it will take 12 months to reach that. That tells me I need to make 2.16% per month to reach that goal. That seems reasonable at this point. We'll continue to validate as we go along. So let's call this, for the moment, our current goal. Our goal now is to reach $160,000 over the next year. Now we need to create a blueprint or strategy or plan to get from our current balance to that goal. There are basically four variables in this dark orange area that we need to change. The levers on which we can rely to get from current balance to our goal balance. These involve first the average size of our wins, the average size of our losses, the win ratio or win rate, and the number of trades we do per month. You'll see that historical values are shown on these sliders to start with, but since this is a nonsensical test account, it doesn't have live data or actual data. These are not really valid values. Let's make them something a little bit more down to earth. Let's take them up to an average win of, what do you say, $250? That may be a start. And let's say that we're going to keep our losses on average at $100 or less. We'll see what that does for us in terms of a plan. With these two variables covered, then we need to look at our win-loss rate. As you can see in this particular test account, it's had an 82% win rate. That's probably pretty steep. So let's just run it down to, let's say we're going to have 60% wins. In the past, you can see that this account has had about 3 trades per month, and that's just because basically I filled in trades when I did webinars or when I did demonstrations. That's the only time I've really used this account. So let's see what we need to do. We can see that the current difference, noted in red, is that our plan is almost 22% below reaching our goal. And you can see that on the graph because the color-coded value here is red. It's hard to see, but the top line right here is a green line, and that green line corresponds to our green goal. The orange line here is our plan, and that's the 21% difference there. This light gray area is a projection based off of the dark gray area. The dark gray area is our performance in the past, and the light gray area is what we would get if we just continued the past performance that we have seen. So we need to raise that plan up to reach that goal, or exceed it to give ourselves a little bit of cushion. So let's first start by adding some trades. You can see that every time we add a trade, we're adding about 0.8%. That's not getting us very far very fast. So the first thing we're going to need to do is get our win and loss ratio better under control. This, in the past, the account has done $800 average win. That's probably unrealistic, and I was trying to be a little more realistic here, but I may not be able to do that because the projection of the past history here in this particular situation kind of skews that. But let's see if we can't keep it quasi-reasonable. Let's run it up to $400. See what that does for us. Whoops. 400. And then let's run our average loss if we're going to be making larger trades like that. Let's say that the average loss we keep below 175. That helps a little. Small amount. Let's try increasing our win rate. Every time we increase our win rate, we make a small gain, about 1/3%. That's not getting us very far very fast. So let's see what adding trades does for us. Adding trades takes us from 1530 to 1376, 1220. So we're getting, as we add trades, about 1% plus per trade that we add. Let's run it up to 10. We're still 7% below reaching our goal. Okay, if we go to 15, we're actually positive. And you'll see that the field is now turned yellow here, telling us that we have a positive difference between our plan and our goal. And if I were to, let's try to expand this, you can now see very small that we have a yellow field here, which is above our green goal and below our orange line, which is our plan. We can increase this again, and as we add trades, we increase the size of the cushion that we have between our plan and our goal. And it's all predicated on these 4 variables. We have to have an average win of $400 per trade, keep our losses at $175 on average, win 63% of our trades, and have 17 trades in the month. As we back that off, at 15 trades, we've got a 1.28% cushion. And you just do scenario planning. You try different variations of this to find a reasonable plan that validates this goal. That goal of making 2.16% per month seemed quasi-reasonable to start with. And now we validated that, sure, if we can do $400 per trade on average win and $175 per average loss, win 6 out of 10 trades and do 16 trades per month, we'll make our plan and actually, or we'll make our goal and actually be 0.4% ahead of the game. The second step of creating our blueprint, strategy, or plan, depending on how you want to term it, will be to look at the size of our trades and whether or not that makes the plan realistic. So in this case, in the past, you can see that we have traded about 5% of the account per trade, and that's way too big. This plan starts out with 2% of the account per trade to establish this plan to make the goal. And if we do that, the average between the wins and losses at this rate would mean that our average trade would have to be a win of 6.87% on a trade size of about just under $2,500, $2476.21. And again, this is on a $123,000, almost $124,000 account. You have to ask yourself, does that seem reasonable? Maybe it does. Maybe you say, well, but I want to lower this number to make it even more achievable. So let's take it up to 2.5% per trade. That's almost $3,100 per trade for 2.5% of the account. And that would lower down our average trade to only needing to be a plus 5.5%, 5.49%, and still achieve our goal and make our plan. Let's say that, okay, what if we go to 3%? What does that do for us? Well, that drops us down to just over 4.5%, to 4.58% on average needed to achieve both our goal and our plan. That seems pretty reasonable. I think I can do 16 trades per month. I think I can win 6 out of 10 trades. I've certainly done it in the past. 16 trades per month is more or less 4 trades per week on average. I think I can do a $400 average win on a $3,700 trade. I think I can keep my losses at 175 by managing those very closely. With those parameters, if I can keep them in check, I'm going to exceed my goal. I'm going to be at 160,000 at the end of a year. So let's save that goal. Okay, our goal saved. That is the first step in creating a usable goal for our trades. So now when we enter a trade, we're going to see that our average win that we need to achieve is $400. In the next version, you will also see that you need to keep your losses below 175, at least on average. So your goal is to be above 400, and your goal is to keep the losses below 175 and win 6 out of every 10 trades in this particular blueprint. The next thing that we can do is to go back and look at the progress of a plan. So let's go back and, just for argument's sake, let's go back and look at one that I had set up here in January. So it was set as of January 1st, where the dark line turns into the light line. This dark gray shows our performance up here. So our plan and our goal was this line right here. It was a 12-month plan, so it ran on out here. And our performance exceeded the plan up through the 1st of August. And truthfully, I have made no trades in the last week. So performance kind of fell off a cliff there at the beginning of the month or at the end of July, somewhere in there. You'll note that you can see the pop-up value on the screen there. It says past performance. The value for the end of August, where I've got that mouse pointing, says it's 123,444.25. If you go down here and hold it over the goal, it says the goal at that point in time was 111,746.30. So obviously I was ahead of goal. You go down here and the projected from the past performance at the beginning of this would have been 100,000 and change. And someplace in here I could get to, there we go. The current plan was even less at $100,048.34. So we were certainly exceeding our goal on the January 1st plan up through the 1st of August. Of course, we had set other plans in the meantime. This light gray area here shows that at one point in time, at the time we set the plan, it was projection. And of course, now it has become actual past performance. Let's look at another goal to give us an idea. Well, actually, let's do this. Let's go back to today's plan that we just set, where we have just under 0.5% cushion between our plan, which is above, and our goal, which is below, both of which far exceed the projection of past performance. If you'll notice at the bottom, we have another drop-down box. What we can do is look at, in this case, we're doing future planning. If we just want to look at the current plan, we can see that there have been no time passed and no trades. So there's no past performance to fill in to show us progress since we just set this plan today. So let's look at the last two trades, or the last two plans and goals. In this case, you can see, based on the legend, that the newest prior goal is dark green dashed, and the newest prior plan is dark orange dashed. And you can see that this was set back here. Let's zoom in by using these controls to reduce that, and let's reduce it this way as well. So now we're looking at less time frames here, and you can see that we were on plan back here, and then we started to slightly fall off of plan, and we ended up being below that plan as of today's date. If we look at the last three, okay, this is a little bit hard for you to see, but you'll notice from the legend that the oldest prior goal and plan, and we're showing 3 goal plan sets, the oldest one are dots. So we have orange dot for plan, green dot for goals, and that starts back here. It was a January, or I guess it would have been at this point 4/1. It was that particular set of plan and goal. And you can see that we failed to meet up to that standard. We started then a new one in July, and again we were coming up short with this particular account. And now today we have set a new set of goal and plan, and those lines are here with just a 0.5% difference out at 12 months, so they're pretty much lines right on top of each other. That gives you an idea of at least how you can go back and look at your performance against your plan at a particular date. So for example, this plan that was set on 4/1, it's our oldest prior plan that we're looking at. We're looking at 3 sets of plans and goals. The plan called for us to be at 125,383.71. Our goal was a little bit less than that, so we had a little bit of cushion in our plan. The goal was 124,042.71. However, our actual past performance at that time was 121.25.45. So we were, what, $3,000, $4,000? $3,000 short of plan, or short of goal, and $4,400 short of plan. That tells you where you're at on a go-forward basis. So let's go back to future planning, and now go back to the 7/2 goal. So this is as it was prior to our if you look closely, you will see that behind the future projection, which is this light gray, we have about 6 weeks, so 1 month and part of a month, that is actual performance there. So we've got dark gray behind the light gray, if you will. That's how we can track on the current plan, or in this case, the prior plan, what our performance is as of that date. Now, if we look at the current plan right now, there's no data, But if we had looked at this before we started, we would have seen data. Actually, I need to change that to 810, don't I? Yeah, there we go. There have been no trades. There's been no activity since we set this goal and plan 20 minutes ago. So there's nothing to display here. However, if we had come back and look at this in 6 weeks without setting a new plan, it would show us an area of performance here since we set that plan, and we can see how we've done versus our goal and versus our plan. Okay, so now we've got these things planned out, found out that they are realistic in multiple dimensions on a monthly level, on a implementation level, and on a are we willing to trade that large to make a reasonable average trade level. And we've saved that goal and plan set. If we decide we no longer want a plan, we've decided, that plan we set up for 810 is crazy. You just highlight that and hit the red X. It asks you if you want to delete this goal and plan set, and if you answer yes, it's gone. You can answer no or cancel and continue on with your work. But that's basically it. You can now set a goal for a given time frame and then validate that it is a reasonable number on a monthly level, come up with a plan based on 4 variables: average win size, average loss size, your win-loss ratio, or your win rate, if you will, and the number of trades you're willing or able to do per month, to come up with a plan and then say, is that plan going to reach this goal or not? And then you say, am I willing to trade a large enough trade size to have the average trade between wins and losses be a reasonable number? If that answer is yes, you've got a great plan. If that is going to require you to put 10% of your account in every trade to get a reasonable number here, then it's probably a good indication you need to go back and change some of the parameters of the plan, or more than likely reduce the goal. Now, let me throw one monkey wrench into this whole ball of wax. You'll notice this arrow here. That was put in from a request of users who like to plan on a weekly level instead of a monthly level. If you highlight that, click it, you can change this to a weekly plan. Now we're planning on a weekly level. And the only problem with that is you need to then adjust everything to be more reasonable, because 2.1% per week is probably pretty ridiculous. So let's run this up to, let's see if we can get to 52 here without going crazy. There we go. So at 52, we need to make basically 0.5% per week in the account to make that same gain. Our average win size and average loss size is still the same. Our number of trades per month is actually going to be per week. And we are not going to be doing 15 trades per week unless we're a day trader. Let's run this down to, given these parameters, it's telling me that I need to do between 3 and 4. Actually, 4 will give us a little bit of cushion. Trades per week, which is where that 16 number earlier came from. And 4 trades per week, since there's more than 4 weeks in a month, is going to give us a little bit more of a cushion. So instead of a 0.5% cushion, we've got a 3.1% cushion with those variables. And again, if we're down here and we say our average trade size is 3%, that gives us a 4.5% per trade, average trade. Okay, that still seems reasonable. And we can go ahead and look at that on the graph now in a weekly level and so forth. So for those of you who like to plan on a weekly level, you now have that ability, as well as planning on a monthly level. And I will get with our programmer and get this changed so that when we go to planning in weeks, that label will change. The value is correct, but the label will change to trades per week. Okay, I think that's it for this particular video. I just wanted to go through the new functionality and the new process. You can follow the same process for every one of your accounts. You can add as many goals as you want, delete them at any time, and frankly, I think most people are not going to change their goals on a very short-term basis. Typically, you're going to want to set a goal and give yourself some time to reach it. So, at least a quarter, maybe half a year, maybe a full year, before you go adjusting your goals. You don't want to, it's sort of like moving your stop in a trade. You don't want to keep moving your stop down, adjusting your goals to be more realistic, moving your stop down to be more realistic. Give yourself time to work towards those goals before you start throwing the goals and the plans out. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so this functionality will be coming out in version 1.89. It will come out right after the workshop on 8/11, which is Thursday. And you will be notified, as with all other updates, in the application. Underneath the Help button, you will see appear the link that tells you there is the update available that you can click on. You also get the pop-up message asking you if you want to start the download. If you do start the download, it'll automatically start. If for some reason you don't want to do the download at that time, you can then click that blue link, which will stay underneath the Help button until you do the download. Once you do the download, you close TraderVision and run that downloaded file. Of course, the only problem would be if your security software prevents the download or stops the installation of the program. If you run into any problems, you can always use the support button to open a support ticket, or just email me at support@tradervision2020.com. Again, that's support@tradervision2020.com. And I'll be happy to get with you and get your problems resolved. That's all I've got for this video. I want to thank you very much for watching, and I really hope you enjoy the new functionality. I think it's going to be very useful and a very educational tool, helping you to understand those four levers and how they play with each other, and the fact that you need to get your win-loss ratio in order first, then raise your win rate. And finally, once you have those things in hand, then you can lever them very hard by running up the number of trades per month that you do. Thanks again, and I look forward to talking to you soon.